Did I make
Yeah, I'm gonna take a
Bookborn
sip
cry?
real
Like,
quick. Maybe a little bit.
well, hello, hello. Thank you for joining me. I am back again with Bookborn and Zack Argyle. Hello, guys. And yeah, let's jump right into it. I'll leave out the big introductions this time if you want to hear more about them. But I mean, Bookborn's YouTube and awesome. Zack's a writer and awesome. There's the condensed version. But
I like it.
yeah, so Bookborn, you started your YouTube channel according to the About page. It says February 3rd, 2020.
That's when I created it.
Okay,
It's
but you
not
didn't
when
have your
my
first video.
was June of 2020. Yeah.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Had you psych yourself into it for a bit?
Yeah, well, I had to get the channel ready. Like,
She's a planner. She's not gonna do something without like full understanding of what's going into
I
it.
am not a spontaneous person. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm the other way, and sometimes it's to my detriment. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's like, oh, I should have planned about this a little bit more. But Zack, you published your first book in March 2020, right?
I did.
So yeah, and we already talked about how you Zack, you got her the camera and you kind of pushed her into it, but I guess it took her 6 months to get there. but Zack, I figure you must have been thinking like, great, she could talk about the books I write and help me promote them and like wah wah.
Here's what you have to understand.
Conversation.
When I published Voice of War,
Yeah.
I had no expectations that anyone was going to read this. Like the original plan was to publish it in like April or May, and then when COVID hit, I moved up the date because I was like, oh well, I want to just publish it so my friends can read it. Which, if you talk to any like successful authors, that's a terrible plan. Like, you should not tell your friends and family to buy your book on day one. It's actually really bad for the Amazon algorithm.
Really?
Like, you want people buying your book that generally would buy your book.
Because
okay.
Zach's
You have to
mom
train
isn't
Amazon
the person
about who buys it.
Not the
buying that kind of
recommended
book.
audience.
Buy
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't want Amazon to think that that's the normal buyer. Anyway,
See, that's interesting because I never thought about like kind of the recommendeds for Amazon because that's just not how I shop. I don't. But that makes sense.
yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah, so I published early, and I mean, my friends and family got it, and that was it.
Well, and that ended up being really lucky because ended up being just in time for SPFBO too.
No, I think
Oh, you didn't do it
SPFBO
the
was
next
in like
year?
May or something.
Did you
But I did
do
it
that
that
year?
year. I
Yeah,
did
that's
that
what I'm
year,
saying.
yeah.
If you had waited till June to publish, you wouldn't have made it in that year. So it ended
Yes,
up
that is true.
working out.
I didn't even know anything about SPFBO when I applied.
Oh, really?
I followed Mark Lawrence, and I saw like a thing that he was doing it, and so I just submitted. And I had no
Really?
idea that it was like a big deal until like a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh wait.
That's funny. And then
I didn't know anything about indie books. I had read one indie book before that point, and I did not know it was an indie book. I bought the book because of a Facebook ad. It was
Game. Is that the book you're going to talk about?
No.
Well, then you'd read that one too.
Oh, I need it. I'll remember the name. Oh, Sephrael's Hand was the first indie book that I read. It's actually a great series, but I had no idea it was an indie series, and so my publishing my book was my entrance into the indie world and reading more indie books. Like I had no idea.
So did you like? Did you even consider traditional publishing, or because you kind of had no expectations, you were writing this for kind of friends and family, you just were like, well, I'm going to go indie because it's the easiest way for me to get it to my friends and family. What was the process?
I did. I created like a spreadsheet of agents, and I sent out a bunch of query letters to them. I didn't know what I was doing. They honestly were correct to not pick me up. But I didn't,
Probably wrote a
spend
bad
that
query
long
because
on
we
it.
all write
Like
a bad
couple
query,
months,
right?
maybe querying, which is like not very long in like the query trenches.
Yeah.
And so it was basically like, well, I don't want to wait any longer. Like I want my friends and family to be able to read this, so I'm just gonna see what the other options are, and learning about like KDP and pod printing and things like that. And I was like, this is really cool. And I also really like the business side of the world, and so it was really just fun to like work with artists and work with and figure out vellum and how all of these things fit together to publish a book. So I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it was I am not at least when I publish Voice of War, it is not a archetype of what you should try to emulate on how to publish an indie book and find success.
I feel you though, but like I kind of like the business aspect too and having the control. But of course, yeah, you had some time on your hands because there was this little event around the time called the COVID-19 pandemic that started, which everyone's probably remembers. Go ahead.
Well, the real time, though, that you finished Voice of War was actually during paternity leave.
Oh,
So we had
okay.
just had our daughter, and Pinterest gives great paternity leave. So
4 months.
He got 4 months.
Nice.
And so that time when we were home was actually when you finished Voice of War.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID hit not too long after that. So it was kind of a double whammy.
Yep.
So we kind of talked a little bit in the last episode about how like working from home and having kids at the same time is not fun. And I was in the same boat with the pandemic. So like, how do you, either of you still have hair in your head after the pandemic and like, work and just both of you starting these new endeavors? Like, I mean, there must have been times where you're like, what are we doing? Right?
Zach and I talk all the time about why did we choose hobbies with deadlines? Like we talk about like this is literally our hobby. This is not our day job. Like we're doing this for fun, and
Right.
yet we have so many deadlines. That is a common. We say that to each other a lot.
Yeah.
Why I put no deadlines for my new book.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I had it for books 2 and 3 in my series, but that series is done. And I'm just going to take my time and do what I want for the next book.
And I do have to remind you of that sometimes, though, because you'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to plan." I'm like, "Nope, don't do it. Don't give yourself a deadline. Just let it happen." I don't know. How did we survive? I cried a lot during COVID-19.
Didn't everyone?
Not
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
No, we were
hard.
living in a shoebox in California,
Oh.
and overall, not a great time. Zach had to work in the garage, and it was like 1,000,000,000 degrees.
Oh, so hot.
And yeah, overall, I'm not fond. I don't look, I don't look back
Not
on this
hoping it
time.
happens
Not your
again.
favorite time.
Yeah, not a great time, I would say.
Right. Were you
Crying
like,
is funny just because I don't normally cry. I am not a crier, and like that was.
We got married. I cried at our wedding, and she did not.
We also cried at both births of our children, and I didn't. So
It was beautiful.
yeah, no, these are
creative
good times
human.
to cry. Yes, yes, yes.
appreciate that about you a lot. It's just not how I generally express emotion until we were stuck inside.
Yeah.
24/7.
Then, yeah, I
then
can't
all
imagine that there's anyone that like went through the whole pandemic and didn't shed a tear at one point.
Like
Like,
I didn't cry at least once, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So were you at that time? You were already doing like weekly videos, or
I've always done weekly videos. Yeah.
Wow.
Ever since that first video
I
in
have
June.
not ever deviated. It has been every Wednesday.
wow,
And then
Well,
occasionally, like when I did Wheel of Time, I added Fridays.
Hence the comment about deadlines.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. I'm trying to do a series right now, and I'm like, oh my god, I actually have a deadline in this series. This is awful. But, so what are your daily routines like now?
Oof.
No, they're very different from
Right
pandemic.
now, we
right?
get up at like 5:45 in the morning
Yeah.
because
It's
we
so
wake with the
bright.
sun.
Yeah, we haven't set alarms since ever.
A decade, we just never.
No,
Wow.
Good morning, people.
Our daily routine is a little different. You want to go with yours?
You get up and exercise.
I do get up and
Usually
exercise.
hang out with the kids and maybe make breakfast for them.
Yeah, it's like I exercise usually from like 6:30 to 7:15, and you sometimes we'll make them breakfast unless they get up a little later, and then I'll make breakfast.
And I got to leave for work usually around 7:40 or 8.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then
You're working in an office now? You're not working at home?
I work from home on Wednesdays, but I'm in the office the rest of the week.
You work from home on video upload days, huh? Or video... I guess... Yeah, right. But you decided the 1 billion degree garage is not the place to do the work. I get it, yeah.
We
That
got
makes
the
sense.
AC house now.
well, we
We're
moved.
good.
We moved August 2020, so we moved during the pandemic, and now we have an office.
Oh, you added that to the pandemic experience. Like,
Yes, like many people. And so this is obviously like not the first background either. You can see the background of our old house in my early videos.
nice.
But yeah.
And the quality of the old camera.
And the quality of the old camera. Yeah.
Well, do you make the different kind of like creative endeavors part of the daily routine, or is it does it vary?
Our kids go to bed. That's the thing. Like, we really aren't working on our stuff until after the kids go to bed.
Yeah.
The one exception for me is on Tuesdays, my daughter does do preschool, Tuesdays and Thursdays for a couple of hours. And that's when I make my big editing pushes, is usually during that Tuesday, because it's, my editing just takes me so many hours that I can't just do it at night. But yeah, we put our kids to bed, and then sometimes we'll just both wander into the office and
sometimes not.
And sometimes not. When we should.
I'm not writing tonight. I don't want to.
But like
go
some nights I'll be
Better Call
like,
Saul.
Zach, do you need to write? And you'll be like, yeah. I'm like, I need to do stuff too. Let's go into the office and set a timer, and we'll both sit down and we'll just do the thing.
I'll say one thing that helped me is, so I published Voice of War in March of 2020, and then in maybe it was April, I joined a writing group that I found just via Facebook. And I have been together with this writing group ever since. We met up for the first time last year at the 20 Books conference in Vegas, at the big indie conference.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, we meet once a week. We meet every single week, and there's 6 people. We review up to 2,000 words from 2 people each week. And so every 3 weeks, I have to submit something to this group of humans that are going to review what I'm writing. And so even when there's like times where I, don't want to write and I just want to go watch TV and veg out and not think for a bit, I still have every couple of weeks, I do need something that I need to submit to these people. And so having that accountability, at least for me, has been really helpful.
And we also have times where we'll like on a Saturday, if you really need to get something done or I really need to get something done, we'll exchange times, like, okay, go take the kids on a hike or go do something. Because usually we try to do stuff as a family on the weekends, but if either one of us has a deadline that we're just not gonna make, that's sometimes when we'll.
And I've taken PTO to write too. For Bonds of Chaos, I was really having to push hard towards the end there.
Well, that's because he set a pre-order date and you can't move it. And so, or you had already moved it once and you couldn't move it again. That's what happened. And so you did, yeah.
I was like, I'm going to lose all these pre-orders.
Yeah.
Really?
Have pre-orders.
If you move it twice, you lose the pre-orders. I didn't realize that.
On Amazon, you can move it up to a month, but you can't move it past then. And so if you try to move it past then, it just cancels it, and you lose all the pre-orders.
Wow, I love the writing group though. I started a writing group like a year ago, and I just got on my local Reddit and was like, hey, I like to write. Anyone else? And I'm like, some people were like, yeah, that's been nice. But your writing group is all virtual then, primarily?
It's all virtual, yeah. There's 2 people in Texas and 1 in Utah. It's going to be moving to like North Carolina or something soon. It's like we're spread out across the U.S.
That's cool. That's neat.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. When they posted about creating the group, they had like requirements, right? They were like, we want people who write fantasy, who are serious about writing, and want to make it their full-time job. And I responded to this guy, David, and I was like, hey man, like I'm serious about it. Oh, and you've already published at least 1 book. And so I was like, yeah, I write fantasy, and like I blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but I'm probably never going to have this be my full-time job. And I was like, my day job is really good, and I just, like, that's not really in the cards right now. And he was nice enough. He was like, hey, like, your book looks good. Let's have you join anyway. So, but the other guys, like, they're pushing hard to go full-time. They write way more than I do, which is also, like, highly motivating to just see them and how many books they published in the last couple of years. So it's cool.
That's rad. Yeah, I love being kind of more part of a community, having friends. The accountability is great. That's interesting. So like if you suddenly like kind of you got on Oprah's book list somehow, like you just took off, you're gonna be like, no, I still want to keep the day job. to provide a lot of good balance for you that way, or?
I don't know if that's
Okay.
true though. I don't think you would like being a full-time author. Because we have talked about how like the pressure then to have to write.
I mean, if I was on Oprah's list, though.
I guess that's a little different.
Right? Yeah.
I guess.
Maybe there wouldn't be yeah. You just sell enough of Threadlight that you like there's not really pressure for another one. Like it's like I don't need to, I can take my time. 'Cause, yeah. That's interesting.
I would love to take a year off of work and just write.
Yeah, I would see that more. I'd see it more likely that you quit your job for like a year and search around for a job you were really more interested in. I could see you doing that.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, cool. Interesting to hear about, daily routines. It varies with so many people. I talked with Travis Baldry. He's an audiobook narrator and author, and he spends like 6+ hours a day in his little tiny voiceover booth. It's insane, right? But yeah, let's go back a little bit. You've made it through the pandemic together. You guys had kids together. You're supporting each other, these creative endeavors. Let's go all the way back to like early dates together. I guess, was it the second date that you guys marathoned all of Lord of the Rings?
Number 2.
Second date. Yeah.
We got to
And
set
this
the
was-
foundation of the relationship where it needs to be set.
If you could sit next to me for like 13 hours and not irritate me, then maybe there's a future, right?
I didn't even hold her hand, man.
It's important.
I was in the zone.
Important to note that it was not the extended versions. People always ask. No, we had to like actually go to school. So we only we watched like 12
We
and
had
a
a bunch
half
of roommates and
hours.
stuff too, so it was just like we just sat on the couch and watched all 3 and ate pizza.
Yep. It was fun times.
I mean, yeah, I'm on board. That sounds great. Whose idea was this?
It's good foundational.
Whose idea was it? I don't know if I remember that.
And why? I don't know.
I'm sure we were just talking about, 'cause
like
we're nerds
liking
and
Lord of the
just talking
Rings
about
or
stuff.
whatever, and being like,
Yeah,
we should
yeah.
watch him. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
At that point, it's like you just, when you like somebody, you're just like, I just want to spend time with them.
Yeah,
And so watching all 3 Lord of the Rings, like I like these movies anyway. I like these stories, and so like it's just like a double good excuse to spend time with somebody.
yeah.
Sure. Except that you were way into the zone.
That was so long ago. We've been married, coming on in a few months, 12 years.
Mhm.
So this was a long time ago.
Sure.
The memories are fading.
Little babies.
But also a long time ago, I think this is a fun story, Zach. You were saying that like I'm sure this is different now, but the first time that you said "I love you" to we'll call her Bookborn, but still,
Why are you
that
telling
was
this story?
What happened? What happened the first time I told you that, Hillary?
I just think you shouldn't say those words unless you are for sure you mean them. And so, it worked out. It's fine. I just wasn't the kind of person who said "I love you" to people.
She just said nothing. That's the answer. It's not that she explained anything. She just literally was completely silent.
You love telling
And
this
I was like,
story.
well,
I
guess I'll have to.
I had previous
Slow
boyfriends
down,
who
I guess.
said "I love you," and I was just like, I don't know if that means that's a big word, so I'm not sure. And so, I just feel like this story is
Don't
not
you
going
love
to
how
help.
defensive she's getting? It's great. I love it. This is the payback
just-
for it.
It's just not going to help my reputation. I feel like everyone's just going to feel like this is in line with what they know about me, and it's just I can't help it. It's just
Cold-hearted monster.
I'm not. a
Oh, is
cold-
that yeah?
I am cold-hearted.
Doesn't
sometimes.
cry during your wedding.
Does it? Yeah.
I'll say I love you back.
But then I meant it when I
Right.
said it. You know what I
true.
mean?
That's true.
So, yeah, it worked out again.
It's always a toughie in relationships, though. Genuinely, yeah. I mean, because one person's gonna be ready before the other. How do you bridge that? Anyway, but that's crazy. You have a reputation for being cold-hearted. Because you are lovely in DMs and stuff. I appreciate it.
No, not like cold-hearted. Heartless is usually what my family says. It's only because I'm just I'm not a crier. I'm not a super overly emotional person. I don't like stories about romance. I'm just
Well, you
that
ta- you
sort
take,
of heartless.
You take things very seriously. Usually in a very good way and an important way. where like a lot of people may like make light of something. You're like, oh, I'm going to take this seriously.
Yeah, but I'm actually not heartless. Was the good news. I think I'm a nice person. No, I'm just more heartless, like movies. Like my family would always say that because like they'd be crying during movies, and I'd be like, But you know what? Since I've had kids, stuff gets to me like a little bit more than it used to. I'm definitely not as stoic as I used to be.
Is it stuff like with kids, like commercials where they're showing like a yeah.
Oh no, not like commercials like that. Like particularly like child harm in books and movies. Like it's very upsetting for me now. Like news articles, I can't engage with that stuff. So it has changed a little bit.
I feel you. Yeah, there's certain things where I'm like, nope. There's like some movies where I'm like, you're gonna show that? I'm out. I just like left the theater, you know.
Totally.
But yeah, you know, you guys have gone well beyond that. You're married. I'm sure she says I love you back now. Are your kids?
I know. yeah. I pull the Han Solo, obviously.
That's even more epic. Are your kiddos into reading yet now?
Yeah, our son, thank goodness.
He's a big fantasy nerd.
Huge fantasy reader. In fact,
he's got like 300 books in his room.
Yeah, he reads so much and so fast, and he loves all the stuff we love, and it has been one of the funnest things starting to share that stuff and see it through his eyes. The fun thing was recently, you know, you had mentioned it in the other video, but I did go to Sanderson's house in February.
Yes.
And my son loves the Alcatraz series, and so when he found out I was going, he like brought his book to me and was like, "Mom, please, will you get it signed?" And I was like, "You already at 8 years old, like that is how you think. I have never been prouder." So when everyone pulled out their books, I was like, "I actually have a book for my son." He wants you to sign it, so he has it, and he's an insane reader.
He That's right. Fast and a lot.
He started reading really young, and I thought that was because of something we did. I tried really hard on that, and I was really proud of it. And then our daughter came along, and anytime I try to teach her to read, she's like, like she loves being read too, so she loves books, but has zero interest in reading to herself, and so I guess it wasn't what I did.
It's hilarious.
It's crazy.
She spends a lot of time in books, but she can't read and doesn't really want to learn to read.
She'd just rather have someone else read for her. Classic younger child. Like, someone else do it for me.
Audiobooks, podcasts. Oh, yeah, she'll gobble those up.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I haven't thought of audiobooks with my son. Maybe I'll try that. But, like, yeah, it's crazy how they're their own little people. And they got their own crazy ideas. Because I've tried to, like, kind of give our son some different books. And he's like, nah. But he reads every night. He's just into, like, Dave Pilkey, like Captain Underpants or Dogman, even though he's, like, 10. He's like,
into Dogman, too. You just can't escape it.
Right. I was like, try Last Kids on Earth. This will probably be cool. And he's like, nah. I think, like, part of it is if I suggest it, it's instantly, like, less cool, you know?
Literally probably any series
you name
our son has probably
will know it.
We also go to the library a lot, and so our kids have checked out dozens and hundreds of books at this point.
Yeah, because I don't know if you knew, but at least our local libraries, the book limit is 100 books at a time.
Whoa!
Wow. Wonder how we know that. Because the librarian had to tell us after we checked out.
Went for that 101st?
No, our record was, I think, 48. Because they had all these books, and I was like, we can't take these all home. And they're like, actually, you can. I was like,
you're like, you're not helping. Yeah.
Could you read the room? Could you read the room?
That's funny.
Yeah, we make use of the library a lot.
Yep.
That's
maybe
really
after
rad.
We can talk about recommendations, even if your son doesn't want to take them from you. We got good ones.
I'm down. I could use them. Has your son read your books, Zach, or does he express any interest at all? Or
he's 8. He's not allowed to read it.
He would read it if we let him.
Anyway, yeah, you were saying that you're kind of PG with your kiddos, or even G, and I get that, and I try to be the same way.
Yeah.
I did it years ago. I did a podcast, a recording of my father, with my father. He was a environmental control and life support system engineer on the space shuttle. So our podcast was just like talking about his work, which is fun. And I really want to share it with my kids, but I was trying to be funny and make my dad laugh all the time. And like sometimes when I'm trying to be funny, I kind of, have you ever seen Robin Williams do stand up where he like has the worst potty mouth ever? That's me when I'm really trying to be funny. And I'm like, well, I can't show that to my kids. I got to wait like longer, you know? Yeah.
Someday.
So
But
They'll
yeah,
appreciate it.
it's fun to like have it in stages because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's hard to wait, but then when you get there,
yeah.
it's like so rewarding when you wait. Because like I am a huge Harry Potter fan. And I always explain this to people as if like, if you ask people who knew me as a kid, like that is something that was so important to my personality. That's one of the first things they would mention. Like that is how big it was. And so many of my friends read it to their kids like really young. And I was so determined to wait until I knew he would actually get it. And it was like agony waiting years. But then when we read it, it was like top
Magic.
Experiences of my life. Like my son is obsessed. I've only read the first 3 to him because I'm trying to hold off. It's not working. Because I was like, oh, we're going to read him like once a year as he gets older. And he's just like...
He's already reread, like, by himself the first 3 probably 10 times.
He will not do that.
And has, like
he
basically
just
memorized them.
Begs me, please let us read the 4th one.
So you're trying to do like, what is the, like, is it one per year to sort of have more of an experience like you had it? Or what is the idea there?
Well, so, because the books get older. So the 1 per year immediately ended. We read the first 3 in the first year. Because I was like, okay, the first 3 are all pretty...
yeah.
They're on the same level. They're not, they're not much harder. But with
then
the
it does
first
get
one, like, it gets
darker.
significantly darker.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like a content, like making sure he understood, like, actually what was happening. But it's just like, it's just not working. Like, it just, I mean, I gave in. Like, we're currently reading the Graveyard Book together by Neil Gaiman. I don't know if you know that one. And he's enjoying it. It's not his favorite. But he basically like made the deal like, if we finish this book, you'll get to read the 4th Harry Potter book to me. And it's like, well, what he said that was really funny was, he's like, can we read the 4th Harry Potter book? And I was like, maybe. And he's like, you said maybe in the way you say it when you really mean yes, but you don't want to say yes. So that means we get to. So yeah, I've been trying. I'm going to try to stop again, but it's hard. And you had the good point. You're like, look, if he doesn't get it all, he'll read it again when he's older, and he'll get it then. So,
That's true.
That was a
He'll
long
get most of it. Yeah.
story for me to say. It is hard to wait, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah,
So
that's a
the
great
stuff
story.
you want your son to watch, it's worth just waiting the extra years until like they really love it.
That's a great
We
story.
showed him the original Star Wars.
Yes.
It's so good.
Top experience.
Really?
Great.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like 8-year-old is like a great age to show that, because they're pretty clean.
Sure.
And, like, no language or anything. And,
No blood in the original trilogy at all.
and the twists, they land, man.
Oh,
Oh man, when he finds out that Vader's his father.
Oh, our son was like freaking out.
Wait, no, he's
That's not true.
That's
He's
not true.
lying. Top moment.
Is it like, I think that's genuinely like one of the best parts of being a parent is just kind of getting to, expose the kid to the kid, but you get, but
those
Well,
moments
that's what I said.
vicariously.
You get to
Right.
relive it.
Yes.
It's the only way to truly feel like you are reliving those moments again. Reading Harry Potter through my son's eyes has been so different. It has reawakened the magic, the stuff he gets so excited about. Like, you kind of forget. You forget what it's
That
like.
is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, to be a kid.
And then when they
Okay.
go, wait, why are the stormtroopers so bad at aiming?
That,
You're like, yes, you're right.
we did not say that. That is a top moment for me
You
as
did,
well.
yeah.
We had never said anything. He said that just like
that's
dead
funny.
serious.
So good.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. So Bookborn, what house are you?
Oh, well, do you want to guess?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay. I feel like
I
it's
get it
pretty
wrong.
obvious. I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay. Yeah, I could
People
see
usually
that.
guess
But
that. What's funny? See, you shouldn't ask me about Harry Potter. I have too many opinions about it.
I'm
but I'll
here
say this
for it.
quickly.
Go. Go.
I always joke that like when I first read Harry Potter, all of my friends said they were Gryffindor because like those are the main characters. And I distinctly remember, because I first read the first book when I was 9, I think 9 or 10. I distinctly was like, no, the Gryffindors, they're not my people. Like, I am for sure a Ravenclaw. And so when I took the quiz like a decade later, I remember being like, I have self-identified as a Ravenclaw for a long time. And so when I took the quiz on Pottermore and it was like, you're a Ravenclaw, I felt so validated. It was an important moment in my life.
I remember thinking like I'm probably a Gryffindor, but then I took the quiz and it said Hufflepuff. And at first I was like, Hufflepuff, because everyone poops on the Hufflepuffs, right? But I was like, then you get to know like what the Hufflepuff
started. She's got like a 10-minute rant about how Hufflepuff is a fantastic house to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm not.
I've heard it too many times.
Zach has heard it
no more.
So many times. He's actually the one who named it the Hufflepuff rant because he heard me give it so many times.
That's funny.
Zach is a Gryffindor though. Zach thought he'd be a Gryffindor, and he is. So
I'm like sad about it. No.
No, it's good. At least neither of you are Slytherin. Like I genuinely don't understand the people that are like, oh, Death Eater merch. Like I'm like, no, they're awful. They're evil. Why do you want that? Like,
I'm just gonna.
Our son used to say that he was Slytherin.
Before he read the book.
Because
he likes
I'm Gryffindor, you're Ravenclaw, and he thinks that our daughter is Hufflepuff. So he was like, well, I'm Slytherin.
Here's the crazy story, though. So he thought he was Slytherin before we read the books. And after we read the books, I asked him again what house he wanted to be in, or what he thought, and he chose Hufflepuff. After reading the books, he chose it. And we were like, that is an interesting read. Because people are like, but he is like super on like, I think I'm a good friend, and so I want to be in the friendship house. And I just feel like that
I don't think he's a Hufflepuff.
I birthed this.
But I'm glad that he thinks that.
I birthed this child who listened to Hufflepuff rants in the womb and absorbed my words.
Right, that's funny.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
So have they? All right. So they're not reading your books yet, but someday. What about your videos, Bookborn? Have they seen? Do they know that Mommy's on YouTube?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Our daughter's comment the other day.
Yeah, for Mother's Day, they asked kids at preschool, like, what does mom do?
Yeah.
And she told them, I write scripts. That's exactly what it was. So I was like, shoot, Zach, she probably hears me say all the time, shoot, I need to go write that. I need to go write that script.
Write my script.
I need to write that script. So yeah, they are aware, but I don't let them watch any of my videos. They watched like a little bit of Jeopardy. I don't know if you've seen Library of Alexandria's Jeopardy, book Jeopardy.
I heard you talking about it on TBRCon, but I haven't seen it yet. I gotta go check it out.
Incredible. So I've been on that a couple times, and so I think you've let the kids watch that, a little bit of that sometimes, but otherwise no. They do think though that to be on YouTube you have to be famous. So like they have told me before, like, oh, you're famous, you're on YouTube. I'm like, that's not how it works, darling. Like, it's not. No.
Like the
lower your
expectations.
Yes, barrier to entry is very low.
Right. Yeah, my son's watched like one or two of my videos, and he was like, "Why are your videos so boring?"
Yeah, that's for what my kids would say, to be honest.
Right. I was like, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, our video content is not exactly like what the kids, what the youths really want to watch, I'd say.
He loves watching people play Minecraft. That's his favorite thing. Yep.
Classic.
Solid.
Yep.
So, but maybe you're not famous, but this has brought different opportunities, I'm sure, for both of you. So I know Bookborn, you got a good one, at least one good one, but let's start with Zach. Like, what's your favorite opportunity or favorite parts of the community or places to connect with readers and other authors, any of that sort of thing that's come about from being in this whole like book space?
What is my favorite one? I don't know. I mean, I've gotten to meet a lot of people. We went to FantasyCon in London last year and got to meet some authors and reviewers.
That's sick.
Awesome. Library of a Viking was there. Johan.
Oh yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Cahill is another very popular indie author. One of the nicest humans in the world. Also.
Nicest.
Is that when you met him? Because he's doing the forward of your omnibus, I think now, right?
He is, yeah. Yeah, Ryan's a fantastic guy.
That's awesome.
I don't know what. I guess I've been on like some like panels and things like that. I was recently on a panel at Barnes and Noble, maybe like 30 minutes north of where we live. Like it was like downtown Seattle area.
Mm-hmm.
Django Wexler was on the panel with me, which is pretty cool. Very popular author.
Just becoming friends with like our local Barnes and Nobles people.
Yeah.
I feel like that was because of you, and I feel like that's been really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been super fun.
Yeah.
Going to be
That's
on a
cool.
panel with Travis Baldry later this year.
Oh,
Here at
sick.
Barnes and Noble also.
Oh, right. Yeah, because
also
he's in the same neck of the
amazing.
woods.
Yeah.
Right.
We met him
A few times.
last year,
Yeah.
and he's awesome. Yeah.
He's a good dude. Yeah, nothing but good things to say about him.
I brought him a cinnamon roll.
Nice.
Like author dinners with people, and
I'm going to go to Dragon Con this year. Get to meet a bunch of people will be fun.
it
That's
feels
cool.
like we now have friends in a lot of places,
Yeah.
which is kind of a cool experience. Like if we went someplace, there's a lot of places now where we could call.
And
up
now I can write off cool events as like tax expenses.
True.
To Georgia for Dragon Con and write it all off as like an author expense, because there's going to be a bunch of agents there and editors, and I can like meet a bunch of authors.
Are you guys bringing your kids to that trip?
No, she's not coming for that one.
Well, we want to go
I
to.
tried to.
We want to go to Dragonsteel Con.
It was last minute. So the Dragon Con one is a direct result of the success of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
As soon as the Kickstarter blew up, I was like, I'm going to Dragon Con.
It's just
Nice.
right when our kids need to go to school, and actually we missed our kids' first day of schools to go on the London trip last year, and I hated that. We didn't know at the time, and so I was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not missing their first day of school. So we're going to Dragonsteel together though, so that'll be fun.
That's sick. Yeah, I really want to. I've been to. There was a little while I went to MegaCon in Orlando like every year, and that's super fun. But I haven't been to a con in a little while. But I know that my like 10-year-old would love it. So I'd love to do Dragon Con specifically because that's the one in Atlanta. And my wife is a nut for aquariums, and they have one of the best aquariums in the world there.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah. So one of these days I got to figure it out. But
I also just made the connection with your comment about your dad and then your wall art behind you. And that makes me very happy. I don't know if that was on purpose.
that one, yeah.
Well, that one and the wall itself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's funny. So, like, I mean, I don't have the awesome Captain America shield. I mean, that's pretty rad. But, like, I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, what am I going to do with my wall? It's kind of plain and boring. And like, I was looking up different things. There was, you know, there's, like, different, like neon signs you can get and that sort of thing, and they were cool, but they're, like, $300. And I'm like, no. Like, so this is just a vinyl sticker that she found, I think. But I was like, that's rad. But this one, yeah, I thought you were talking about this one. This is like the podcast logo, and I had recorded the stuff, you know, like a year prior to releasing everything. I started like recording stuff, but then my dad, he had a heart attack and he just passed away. Just, you know, done. So, but like, so I said to friend / coworker who's a graphic designer, I was like, all right, I need to get these out now. Like that's going to be part of my coping. I want you to make a logo for me if you could, please, you know, and you know what it's for, you know what it's about, go for it. You know, I had like no input, but he came back with this. And so, and he made the logo, and it's like, I love it so much. And then another friend actually hand painted this version. So that one gets the place of honor right there, you know.
Yeah, good
But see, this is what I'm talking about, because now that I'm a parent, like, that moved me. Like, that's before I say I can't be heartless anymore, because now I'm all, like, moved because of that. Like, oh, what a good story. Oh. Anyway.
Thank you. Did I make Bookborn cry? Like,
maybe a little bit. Just like there's a dad and a son in the logo, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Yeah, it's obviously it's a big deal for me, you know.
That's a very cool tribute, like a good way to honor his memory. Yeah,
and like I'm so glad that we did it. Of course, like I had no idea that things were going to happen the way that it happened, you know. But we kind of been kicking around the idea for a while because it, you know, was fun to talk with him. And like anytime that I brought over like a friend for like, you know, dinner, whatever, I'd be like, Dad, tell him about the space toilet, you know, like that sort of thing, you know. So it's like stories were fun, and I was just thinking I should get him recorded, and then so having that is just, it's very nice. But
very precious.
Yeah. So let's talk about you more. Do you two ever do you get competitive with your different creative endeavors? Bookborn, do you ever go, oh, you wrote a new book, Zach? Just one this last year? That's adorable. I made a video every week. I got 52 of them, you know?
No, I was going to say, we are never competitive with each other, but are we competitive in our respective spheres?
Sure.
Yes. And in fact, we end up having to let's see, we have to talk each other up because we're both very prone to just no success is good enough. So we succeed and it'll be we move the bar. And so it'll be like, oh, are you so excited? And you'll be like, yeah. And that's to me, I remember specifically when I hit 10K subs, you were freaking out. You were like, oh, we're going to go celebrate. You hit 10K. And I was like, yeah, I thought I'd like this more, but I actually think I want this subscriber count. And he's always like, you just can't be happy and satisfied and blah, blah, blah. But then you do the exact same thing. And so we try to work on that.
I know the Kickstarter ended and
I did the same thing.
I walked out of the room and you were like, oh my gosh, are you so excited? It's over. You did it. You crushed it. And I was like, I was in a very I don't know, focused mood or something. And you were like, that's it? You're not going to get excited about this is awesome. And I was like, I know, but there's all this work I got to do now for it and make sure everything's ready.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah. I've never felt
competitive with each
other. No, it hasn't felt.
They're very
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're complementary in a very good way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Mm.
Do you ever feel I've been starting this YouTube thing, but I'm also writing, and I love the fact that I can make my most popular video I made at 5 a.m. after a news thing came, and I did it in 30 minutes. And you just can't do that as a writer, you know? You can't make a novel in 30 minutes on a whim. I can't, you know?
Let's use AI.
Yeah, pseudo right.
But so do you ever, wish that you were you could swap places or anything like that, or is it totally you just
swap places?
Yes.
Because I'll always be like, oh, you got to do this long thing. It doesn't have to be every week. It's not this grind. And sometimes you're like, yeah, but sometimes I just want to do a thing and publish it, and then it's not all writing on this one thing.
Right.
Especially after editing the same book 4 or 5 times. The weeks and months before you publish a book are just the worst. You're just it's such a grind.
The
all the fun parts are done.
The stress you felt ending the trilogy.
I was very stressed out about it.
There's this is it.
There's no going back.
There's no fixing it in the next book. That is so final, and that was definitely a different kind of stress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boy, thanks. I haven't been there yet, so that's a new anxiety to worry about.
You look forward to.
Yeah, right.
Great. He wasn't stressed at all.
The third book was hard for me. It was
it was stressful.
Just
That's fun.
So much stuff, so many promises you've been making over the previous books that you're like, I gotta.
The night before,
I gotta make it all happen.
Since you said that I stay up all night thinking, the night before anything big happens for Zach, a book gets published or the Kickstarter starts, it's okay, so you're waking me up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, huh? You're gonna be.
I'm not sleeping at 3. It's impossible.
He's gonna wake up at 4 a.m. He's gonna be refreshing it, and so that means I'm awake at 4 a.m.
It's true.
Yeah.
Sorry. Love you.
Okay. I still remember when he found out he became an SPFBO finalist. I remember he he was like, I'm the finalist, and I'm like, it is 5 a.m. Could you wait an hour to tell me this news? Because I cannot fall back asleep.
I couldn't believe it.
Once I'm up, that's it. Yeah, that's actually a fun memory, though. I like to tease you about it, but that's a very fun memory. Yeah.
Nice. So you guys also, you do this indie book fund? Tell us about the indie book fund. Tell the audience a little bit about what it is, and also...
Speaking of deadlines, that's why I was laughing. We're supposed to announce that in June, and if that's a deadline we're maybe behind on...
But what it is
it's called Indie Fantasy Fund.
Yes, it is a fund for authors, for indie authors specifically, to help them basically fund their work in a better way. So basically the goal is like we want to give free money to people with no strings attached that they can use to just improve like their process, whether that's like better cover art or whether that's, you know, being able to hire a narrator that they weren't going to be able to hire before.
Right.
Things like that.
The problem with self-published works is there is this huge barrier in that optics are very different because you don't have a publishing house doing a lot of that stuff for you or giving you an advertising budget. And people with self-published are like way more likely to cover read, judge a book by its cover or whatever. And way more of indie is consumed audibly. Like people really like to listen. Now, unfortunately, artists and narrators are basically the most expensive part of the process. And we had talked a lot, like it's kind of unfair that we had the resources for Zack to do all those things because we're blessed with that. And how could we help other people who maybe aren't as lucky to have those resources but have just as valuable and quality books get those resources they need to be successful? And so that was really why we started it.
Yeah, because it's expensive, right? Like
It's
going
expensive.
through the process for myself, I was like, for the 3 audiobooks, it was about $10,000 to get those narrated.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is a lot of money.
Like, you make it back.
Well, maybe.
Maybe, but even
Right, and you don't know.
My point being, even if you make it back, because I think you have made it back,
Yeah.
you still have to have it up front.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell your audiobook narrator, I'll pay you back when I make it back.
And my books are short. Right? That's
Right, because they charged on the finished hour, right? Or
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
when I started making like some money from the author stuff, I was like, well, like we're lucky enough, like she mentioned, like we don't really need the money from like the income from my author stuff. And so we're like, well, let's just reinvest it to people who maybe could use it more than we need it right now. So that's kind of how it started the first year. The second year, we're in the second year right now, and we turned it into an official 501c3 nonprofit so that others could donate to it. And so it went from $5,000 the first year to this year we have over $9,000 donated and some services. So we have like some, like Dom has donated editing services. We have some cover designers that are part of it. And so we're going to be able to hopefully be able to help, maybe like a dozen people or something in a pretty significant way this year, which is exciting.
Instead of just 6, right? We did 6,000 the first
Yeah, we
year.
ended up doing 6 last year.
Yeah. We found
'Cause
an
we're
extra
suckers.
person. Yeah, it's really exciting. And it's not like we've started. We've gone through the submissions. We're just maybe not as far along in the process as we should be.
Yep.
That's another thing this week that we literally were like, okay, we're going to the office and sitting down right now and going through submissions.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you guys do it, and neat that you went through the trouble to set up the fight. Not only are you like, I'm going to give away my money, but now you're like 501c3 so that you can grow it too.
People were being so generous. They really wanted to donate, and we just get really nervous about that. We don't want to accept people's money unless they can be very confident that it's actually going to the people. I think people trust us, but still, it's nice to be like, look, we have paperwork now. So you'll know that it's
and they can write it off for taxes too.
And they can write it off for taxes.
Seems awfully nice for someone so cold-hearted. I don't know,
And again, only sometimes heartless.
All right. Well, this has been great. I've got one more thing I want to do with you guys. It's something I've been doing that I've now called How Dare They? So, Bookborn, you mentioned that one of your favorite books of all time is Warbreaker. Can you tell me just a little bit about what you love about it?
I love the magic in Warbreaker. I love the 2 female character leads in Warbreaker. I love the magic talking sword, and really just how the ending, that was the first Sanderson. That wasn't my first that I read, but it was the first one where the ending just was that was my jam. The way that all just went together, and you could just figure out right before it happened what was going to happen. I just love that book.
Wonderful. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to send you a message that is, You know, not every book's for everyone. And so this person wrote a 1-star review.
Oh no.
So
I've
if you
read
could
1-star reviews before. Okay.
Long.
yeah, you don't need to, it's
One-star review.
it's a little too long, so like you don't need to read it all of it, but you know,
Am
feel
I
free to
reading this out loud?
Oh yes, please.
Okay.
Read it out loud as much as you can. But I mean, if you
here-
have to stop yourself and be like, how dare they? Like, that's fine.
Should I put on a voice so people know this isn't me? Okay, so yikes. There were a lot of problems with this book. Let's break it down. Content warnings. A lot of discussion of words that I can't say or you'll get demonetized. Casual misogyny, racism. It's like not letting me read this. Okay. Harm to children, fat shaming, sex shaming, torturing animals, endless discussion of religion. Let's start here. I didn't love anything about this. The problem. Bloated like a dead whale. There are really only 3 story points in this book. We got a real... Okay, sorry. I have to say that it keeps scrolling down every time I try to read it.
Sorry. I'll tell you. Here's what we'll do. Hang on.
Wait, I want to fix it because I'm converted to reading this now.
I'll put a small bit at a time.
There.
You can, like copy it into like
No,
notes or
we're
something.
gonna. I'm almost to the point where it's fine. Let me keep going.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll just skip down to where I could read. The characters. Light song is honestly the only word I can settle on is what is normally a fairly good sized vocabulary is douche nozzle. A useless, often harmful tool that expelled effluvia? An interesting word. Lost my place now. The second one the author didn't even find logical, so it became the cringiest thing. Blush Weaver was a one-trick pony and a poorly run at that. Temptress got a tempt. She is not tempting, and that's the author's faults. The plot. Oh my gosh, the hands of ringing. This would work better as a guide for how to beat the last moisture out of rocks or something. We're hit over the head with who am I, and he's gonna take my baby crap. So hard that I began to hope they would take the baby just to save it from this much jostling.
Bebe.
Baby. Your reading is fantastic. I'm enjoying this.
Sanderson trying to go dark. This kind of tickled me actually because he did such a bad job. There
How
we
dare
go.
they?
Here's the thing. I'm sorry to this person that I was so rude about your 1-star. Your 1-star review is valid, and I apologize. But I'm always surprised when people really don't like the way that series story is handled, because weirdly enough, it's one of the things I love most about it. Because to not spoil it, that trope that is used in Warbreaker is actually one of my least favorite tropes. I really dislike it. And so for me, it's funny. Like, Warbreaker is one of the only books that I actually like how it's done. So I always find it interesting. I do think that trope is like a really hard one. So I'm not surprised someone would have a problem with that. That review wasn't like that bad, I'll admit. Like, they said fair point. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they were just... saying whatever, saying nonsense. It was
I
like
like how you're trying to be
fine.
nice about it, but they use the word douche nozzle.
Okay. Well,
Also, yeah.
I mean, I did read it in a really rude voice. I just how would
Also
that person
bloated
know?
like a dead whale. Like, woof. You know, they didn't
Yeah,
pull
I mean, in
punches.
fairness, like, I do love that book. This is when I've reread that book several times, and I remember one time I was rereading it, and Zach needed me to do something, and I was like, I can't. It's at the really good spot. And he's like, this is your time reading this book. Like, get off the couch. You know what happens. So I don't feel like that book is bloated. But
No,
I mean,
it's not a long book.
well, it's 680 pages. But for Sanderson, that's
Yeah. That's a short one. That's a short Sando book.
practically
That's like a
novella.
weekend of writing for Brandon Sanderson, right?
Yeah, that's a plane ride.
Yeah. Right. All right.
What a review. Okay, so does Zach get to do that too now? Does he get to suffer?
All right. I guess I mean, the way that you put it, I feel like I have to make him suffer also. But I'll try to get less. But Zach, yeah, you said your favorite Words of
I already know
Radiance.
which one it is. Yeah, look at that. I can already tell. This one's going to
Yeah.
hurt me too.
So I copied just like the beginning, so it won't do the weird scrolly thing. So
Sweet. Okay. Ugh. This is the first book that I can't bear to read further this year. Just atrocious. Brandon Sanderson's books were personally recommended to me by many people, and I suppose I'd still read some of the Wheel of Time after this, but it's impossible for me to say a single nice thing about it. All right, in the beginning, as I thought I was going to read one of the greatest fantasy books, the rating is 5, imaginary, but a 5. That got shattered real quickly. First, we see Yasna, and I was already rolling my eyes. No, not another flaky female character, but yeah. Turns out Yasna is as intolerable as her pupil, Shallan. The two receive all too much glorification.
beautiful AF, we'll say.
Beautiful, smart, quirky.
AF, you can just say AF.
Yeah. All the beauty and talent and courage and personality and luck and courage in the entire world, yet conveniently vulnerable from time to time, which is exactly why they are not believable or interesting. Now a 4.
I will go. Here you go. A little more for you.
I'm taking this more personally than you. Jasmine's my favorite Stormlight character.
I freaking hate the Bible verse like beginning of each chapter. Those excerpts are written in a different style than the rest of the book, which is understandable. But the disparity is too great. You know, before you enter an imaginary word, you're supposed to suspend all disbelief. Well, the different writing style of the excerpts doesn't necessarily interfere with that, but the rest of the book does. Brandon Sanderson does not pay attention to language. The language in this book is so plain and modern that any kid can read it, no problem. Which isn't a bad thing at all. I'm guessing that's where the majority of his readership comes from, but I hate a book without any finesse in it. For example, ain't in a fantasy book.
Can I interrupt? I have a question. Did they read Way of Kings? Because it almost sounds like they just jumped into Words of Radiance without reading Way of Kings. It's interesting. Because one of these problems all be problems with Way of Kings?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
I need more info.
Let's track this person.
For example,
down.
ain't in a fantasy book. High Prince of Information sounds like CTO. I will not listen to your lies, Halaran said, rotating his wrist, twisting the sword in his hand, point still against father's chest. So easy. WTF. Dalinar waited with self-disciplined patience, unlike patience bestowed by the others.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. But I love your dramatic reading, actually. That's like, you've done a great job.
Can you tell I read a lot to my son also?
Character voices.
You know, that's how Travis Baldry started as an audiobook narrator. He was reading to his kids, but then his kids kind of aged out of it, and he's like, wait a minute, I can do this for other people.
That's awesome. I love
So
that.
you get your next career. There you go.
No. I hate hearing my own voice, so not going to happen.
I would very much like you, though, to refer to your boss as a high prince of information sometime soon.
Well, I'm a boss, so maybe I'll start referring to myself as that. Show up to work tomorrow.
Information.
Bow to the High Prince of Information. Just change my
see how that
title in
goes.
our work Slack group.
The High Prince of Information. I like that.
Beautiful. And your Kickstarter book Slack group and your group with your writing group, all of them can just be High Prince of Information.
Wonder if the Twitter
Fair.
handle's available.
You're gonna give up SFF author for High Prince of
No way,
Information? I don't
man.
know.
I can't give
Yeah.
that up.
Oh, get on Twitter and be the High Prince of Information.
High Princess of Information.
No, High Prince of Information. Just go for it, you know?
Oh, go for it.
There you go.
I hate Twitter,
like
but
it.
I like the idea. Maybe I'll go take the handle just in case.
All right, SFF author and High Prince of Information. This has been lucky. It's been wonderful. I've enjoyed it all. Thank you for both episodes. Thank you for being my season finale for season 1. Thank you for agreeing to be on my little show when I don't have any episodes up yet and you don't have any evidence that this is going to be a thing. I appreciate it. It's been lovely talking to you both.
I got you, man.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much for having us.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Zach, again, where can people find you online?
Twitter at SFF Author or Instagram at Zack Argyle Author.
And Bookborn. I'm sure they'll be able to find you at High Prince of Information soon, but for now...
Make that joke. I was going to say, you can find me...
Comes out.
You can find me on YouTube at Bookborn. You can find me on Instagram at bookborn.reviews, and newly on Twitter at High Prince of Information if it's available.
All right. And thank you all for watching. If no one's told you today, you're an absolute legend.